Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we have the Midland Pullman carriages, carriages more like the ends of the Midland Pullman's back, on the channel. It's the second week in a row now, as we try to finally get them completed. The idea today is indeed that of getting them done and out of the so-called workshop, even though that's only a sort of figurative workshop. There's not actually a real workshop in existence that I use. It's just literally the floor in my room, which I just repair engines on, or if I'm not filming it then I'll do it on my desk, but beyond that there's not much of a proper workshop setting for them. But nevertheless, I have today got track, as you can see here, and it's all plugged in and ready to go. Plug's still not exactly up to any sort of safety standard, but just haven't been able to find a replacement, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. But it does have power, just checking there. So let's put the engine on, and we'll go from there. Also, if you guys can hear a sort of fan in the background, that's because there is a fan going in the background, and it is quite hot, and it's apparently going to get hotter in the UK this week, so I don't particularly feel like turning it off, but just apologies in advance for that one. Now, I'm going to start the engine here, which means I'm not going to speak for a second, and we're just going to listen how it sounds, and then once we get a couple of seconds of how it actually sounds when it's running, I'll come back and we'll make some assessments from there. Right, speak again in a second. Right, I'm back. Now, it's not horrible. Like, it was worse before, but I don't know whether you can hear it. There's sort of like a slight grinding undertone on the motor, which sort of indicates it's sort of coming into contact with something that it shouldn't really be doing. So I'm going to grab my PH00 screwdriver and just casually take the main screw out here, just for the holding screw. Now I'm going to see if this screwdriver will work for these smaller screws. Turns out it will not, so I will go and acquire a 000 Phillips screwdriver, which it also turns out doesn't want to work either. Well, we have a bogey, so that's fun. Alright, so this is going to end well. One of the screws is resisting coming out. Right, I'm about to see one of the four come out now. Right, I'm just going to put this back here so you guys can still see me working on it. That's another one out. That feels like that one's out. Nope, clearly not enough. Maybe I need to undo this one a bit more. Okay, that's one of the small screws. This is another one. And we should have a third you in a moment. Okay, problem is these last two screws are not wanting to comply today, which is fun. Right, that's one of them. And then we just need the last one here. Which is really not wanting to come out. I have absolutely zero idea why it's resisting so much, but probably going to have to buy a new one, unfortunately. Right, so it should be out in a matter of seconds here. Let's see if the entire thing just lifts off. That's fine. Right, so here's the engine back, and then we'll move the casing over there with a screw, and that is that job done. Right, now we'll relay this here, put this back over here, and now we just have to do a little bit of work by using a flathead screwdriver. Generally works quite well for me here for this specific task of taking this and popping it back into its correct housing. There we go, something along the lines of that. As you can see here, I'm going to try and talk over the engine. Still seems to be, for some reason, I'm just trying to clean the gear off here. But for some reason it still seems to be resistant to the idea of running smoothly, so that's fun. So what I might do here is pause quickly, grab some oil and put some oil on the components that move and hope that it works. So I'll be back in 1 second. Right, I'm back now and I have some oil, so you're going to see me putting some oil on here and then turning the power back on. Let me lift that back up to where it should be. Put some on there. And now hopefully that should be a bit better. Put a little bit more on here just in case. Right, That should hopefully work a bit better. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. That's good. Might put some more on the outside there, more on the inside there, just a little bit more there. Right, that should hopefully work out a bit better. You will notice some spraying here, and that's just some excess oil that doesn't actually need just flying off, and that's because I'm putting probably slightly more on than necessary. In some cases a lot more than necessary, just to make sure it does work, and then whatever it doesn't need I can clean off later. But generally you should try and urge on sort of less oil than it needs rather than more in general status. Right. Probably turn it off before I try and do that. That's what you heard there, was me doing something when the engine was still on. Right, it's nice and covered now. It's also good and covered in there. Try and get a decent coverage in there. Want to cover this a little bit more, just to try and keep everything as oiled as possible. Wrong one. Right, let's get this back in and let's see if it wants to go again here. Need it like that. And then we'll see if it wants to fit in. This is absolutely drenched in oil. I may have gone slightly overboard. It is purely drenched. Right, there we go, we're in now. And that's good. Let's test it one last time. Turns out it wasn't in properly, but it does sound a lot better. But it is very much over oiled. I may have gone slightly excessive. I will have to clean my track now and a bunch of other things. So this is why you don't over oil things, is because the oil goes everywhere, gets on the track, gets everywhere, and it's just a generally bad idea. So I will have to do a bit of cleaning up in a moment, but generally it seems like it's just needing a bit more oil than it had, and it seems that we find from there. So that seems to be the fix with the Midland Pullman, which is good. And yeah, I will do Unit F off camera at a later date, but hopefully next week they might be running. I'll see if I can get them running. I do have another engine that I'm trying to run in, so I'll be prioritizing that one, and then yeah, we'll go from there. So I'll catch you all next week with this engine hopefully finally running in, which it needs to do, and yeah, catch you all next week. Bye for now. Bye.